Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see all of you here this morning. This is just really, really fun for me. Um, and I'm going to the format's going to be I'm going to share a PowerPoint, and then we'll talk a little bit with any questions you have or comments. And then with what time is left, we will draw. But the point is, it's only an hour and a half. And generally, when you have an art class, um, it's usually about 3 hours and you're drawing the whole time pretty much, except for maybe the teacher talks a little bit. So this is a little bit of an experiment here. And so bear with me because I want to give you the real stuff and I want to give it as clearly and helpfully as possible. So there won't be a lot of time for drawing, and also but my hope is that when we're done, you will turn off the computer and draw, because you'll need more time uh, to really draw. So, okay, let me get to my PowerPoint. I'm going to do share screen. There we are. And share. Oh, it looks like, did we just get another person come in? Oh, okay. Slideshow. And all right. Okay, so can you all see my screen? Okay, thank you. All right. So today we're going to talk about, I've got to put this thing somewhere down here or something. There we go. Bearing witness to the beauty of everyday objects. And so a quote by an artist, Cicely Brown, is, "Learning to draw is teaching yourself how to see or making something that you want to see." So it is, I approach drawing as a form of meditation, um, because you're communing with whatever it is you're drawing with, whether it's a person or a leaf or a bowl. It doesn't matter what it is. You're coming into the moment with that object. And so there's a lot more to it than ending up with a beautiful drawing. In fact, that's the byproduct. That's the least of it. The real stuff is your awakening through seeing. And it's a really delightful experience. So it's, you don't want to get into trying to make something for somebody else that somebody else is going to think is beautiful. That's not the point of drawing. And that's not where the best drawings come from. The best drawings come from you having an experience, and that experience is marked down on a page. And that's what's so amazing to see people's drawings, because you're seeing through their mind on a page, and it's there and it's stopped in time, but it was a moment of time in this person's consciousness. So I'm trying to move this little bar down somewhere out of the way. So it's a very different orientation. And that doesn't mean that you don't learn techniques and this sort of thing, and how to draw, uh, how to use the materials and all that. But it means that you're in the moment with what it is you're drawing. Your intention is to be present and to use vision as and to use the what you're looking at as your meditation object. So, okay. So let's go on to the next. How do we do this? Oh, I know how. Okay. I don't know if any of you know Pioneers, but they're a really very cool group that they're biological pioneers. And they have conferences and they have podcasts and all of this. And so a quote from their catalog is the key role of the arts in social movements is as true today as it's ever been. Without the inspiration and the vision of artists provide, we won't be able to give birth to the life affirming and just civilization we aspire to become. So um, there's a lot of emphasis in consciousness of being aware of suffering, and it's really important. Suffering is where where our compassion comes from, but it's sometimes neglected is giving attention to joy and beauty. And that's just as important. It lifts us up. And especially during times like this, where there's just so much difficult stuff to bear witness to. We need to fortify ourselves with beauty. And we need to do that consciously and remember that joy isn't, some people diminish the impact and importance of joy and beauty. And, but you know, the three tenets, the three vows are I vow to bear witness, opening my heart to the joy and suffering of life. And so we need both. So this is a class on focusing on bearing witness to beauty and to the beauty of the earth and the joy that comes from that. Uh, so so the truth is that we're all artists, and that in many cultures everybody is empowered to be an artist. And but in our culture, we've tended to sort people into artists and non-artists. And so I'd like to eliminate that misconception from the get-go. Everybody is creative, and it is our birthright to express ourselves, uh, express what we're feeling, express what we're seeing. Um, uh, However we do that. So if you ever see um, uh, a class or whatever we call it that says how to draw, run, because what you're getting is a condensed version of somebody's idea of, you know, how to make something look like something. And that's not drawing. That's I don't know what the hell that is. Actually, I have a little story about that. When I was a little girl, I loved to draw. And my mother sent me to a drawing class, and the teacher had us draw bunnies. And she had these little circles that she had us use to determine where the ears were and where this was and where that was. And and I just drew a bunny, you know. I drew something that I thought looked really good. And she said, no, that's not right. That's not how you draw a bunny. And I did not do art until college after that. I literally was not at all interested in art until I got to college. So the creative spirit is very sensitive. You know, you've got to be delicate in how you approach it. And it's so easy to look at what experts, so-called experts, and believe what they tell you about yourself, about what drawing is. So I'd like to erase all of that. And I'd like to rather just not have you be influenced by um, lesser ways of seeing. So what's natural is that we're all artists, and when we're children, it is very apparent. I want you to look at these drawings here, and I want you to bask in the delight that is expressed in these drawings and the feeling. It's so, they're so alive. So Picasso said, let me see, where's that quote by Picasso? Uh, um, Picasso said, every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. So, let's not grow up. That's my, oh, um, so anyway, it's true. We delight in color, we delight in line, we delight in the fact that we can make marks until we're taught not to. So, so here's some Picasso drawings. And what I find interesting in these drawings is that, oh, here's somebody who needs to be admitted into the room. What I find interesting here is he didn't quite make it all. Now look closely at these. He didn't quite make it all the way to here. Can you see that? Okay, so, oh, somebody else is coming in. So look at these, and this is what Picasso is aiming for. He's aiming for this. And he did this, you see the bottom, the girl, he had a lot of technique. He had a lot of technique, but he didn't quite get all the way there. But that's where he was going. That's where he was going, was to draw with freedom. And it's very hard to get back there once you've been trained to get to that freedom. But I'm hoping that today I'll be able to give you some guidance in returning to where drawing is a joy and where there's freedom. So okay. So, and these are some Japanese drawings. And I like them. I think, to my mind, and you think, see what you think. To my mind, they have a beautiful combination of technique and freedom, joyfulness and depiction. So there is a childlike quality to these. And you can see the difference. You see where they're going. So, so that's just part of the direction, the true north that we're aiming for today. And so there's the spirit of how you approach drawing, and then there's techniques, and techniques are very important, and you can learn them from a lot of different places. And so I thought I would I pulled some pictures from the internet and to just describe a few techniques. And there's many, many, many more, but this is just kind of to give you a sense of what I mean by techniques and how you can find them. So one is cross hatching, which is used a lot in drawing. Cross hatching is where you have lines going across each other. So you see on the cup here, there's lines going around that shows the roundness of the cup, and there's lines coming down that show the depth of the cup. So just take a moment to look at this drawing and think about what the person drawing it was doing, and just take a look at how they use cross-hatching to define roundness and shape. And notice also how it's darker some areas and lighter. That's another thing that's used, is dark and light is used to define depth and shape. Another technique is using the side of the pencil instead of the tip of the pencil. And you get a much more kind of softer line when you use the side of the pencil. And right now I'm just talking about pencils just because, there's, of course, you can draw with paint and a lot of other things. So it's infinite, but I wanted to just kind of go into a few things. Lots of small lines. So the artist here defined the shapes of the eggs first, and then they used a lot of small lines to darken areas to give depth and shape to the eggs. And that's just a bunch of lines. And yet we all know, we see the shape of the egg, the depth of the egg by the dark and the light and the different directions of the lines. Another thing with drawing is combining realism with imagination, and anything in between there. It could be pure imagination. Drawing doesn't have to be drawing a something. It can be, I mean, it's sometimes called doodling, but it can be pretty high level doodling too. So drawing can come out of what you see that really interests you and sparks your imagination, or it can come just from inside out, that you imagine. Maybe you have a dream and there's a tree or maybe a snake or maybe, whatever. Drawing can come out of pure imagination too. And it's a um, different way of approaching, but and those are just two, and everything in between. Objects up, just this person just decided to pile a whole bunch of stuff up on top of itself. It looks like there's a donut and a TV. That's kind of funny. That's a funny drawing. Okay. And dark, loose lines, very mysterious. And it looks like this was probably done with ink. And you see the blurriness that is achieved with the edges. There's a lot of, when you're working with liquid drawing, it opens up a certain other possibilities. Subtle lines, less is more. So I sometimes love to do this, just have lots of white page and just something in there. So don't be afraid of what's not there. Don't be afraid of not including just the white of the page or whatever color the paper is. And here's another example of a drawing. dark inky lines. You see how different it is? The lines have thickness and thinness. This has obviously been painted with a brush, so that you're drawing, you could draw with a brush. A sumi drawing is done with a brush. And that's really a whole nother technique that can be developed. How you apply the brush to the paper and in one stroke go thick and thin. It's a really fun thing to play with, and it's been mastered in the Japanese art forms. I encourage you to look at some Japanese drawings because they're masterful. Adding color, and this looks like the artist drew a cityscape and then went in either with paint, what looks like with watercolor, and just, added color to that. So there's the option to just do black and white, which can be very powerful, or to work with color. Those are all choices that you have to play with. And here's some very freestyle loose lines. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So sometimes it's called doodling, but I encourage you to doodle. I encourage you to just make marks without any rhyme or reason, and then look at them afterwards and think, oh, this I like. I'd like more of this. And I don't think I need any more of that. And you know, you can respond to what you're drawing. So reminds me of something I want to share with you too, is that when you're drawing, be aware of the edges of the page. What are you doing with the upper left edge? What are you doing with the upper right? What is there activity or is there silence? And same thing with the all around the piece. Just keep going back and think of it as a whole thing. What I like to do when I'm doing watercolors is to tape around to make a parameter of drafting tape around, so that those are the edges. Edges are very important when when you're doing a composition. So that's more getting into composition than just drawing a thing. We're talking about the whole area. So so in closing this part, I want to share that drawing is a combination of technique and freedom, structure and looseness. And where you fall on those continuums will be just according to your personality. I know artists who are very, very detailed and very realistic and make beautiful pieces. I know artists who are very loose and yet there's still structure to what they're drawing. And so it's a matter of your personality, what draws you. And so listen for that. Listen to what interests you. And it's going to be different for you than for anybody else. I like to do botanical illustration with this piece with the leaf. Uh, I study botanical illustration because I like that process of communing with little bits of nature and really focusing in on the details of that. But then I also like in the piece on the other, whether it's left or right on your side, I don't know. I like the thing of just making a line and seeing what happens. So with that piece, I took a large brush and put paint on it and just really fast. And then I stood back and looked at it and thought, what does it need to help define it? And that's when the green came in. So I'm just showing those to give that understanding that however you approach it, and maybe all is going to be unique to you. And there's a lot of options. There's a lot of stuff to learn, and there's a lot of stuff to just play without learning. And I encourage both. And have fun and explore and play, and don't judge yourself, because that doesn't help the process at all. So I think what I'm going to do here now is stop share screen. And I'm going to, I can't, oh, there we go. Okay. So what I'd like is to just have a little discussion with you, and anything you want to ask or share. I'd be real interested to hear your thoughts. So you can either, I can see all of you, so you can either put your hand up or you can put the electronic hand up. Okay, Suchita, uh, there we go.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful gathering. I was wondering if you can, with everything going on in the world, and I'm out enjoying this and a little break from work and walking while I do that, but everything going on in the world, trying to, remember the joy part of life feels harder and harder. I don't know, or harder some days, maybe some moments. I was just wondering if you could just share a little more about how you know, kind of approach that, or how it manifests in your life, and maybe through art and objects and such. So
Mhm.
just to hear more about that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sujit. How do I say your name? Suchita?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. That is a really important thing. I think we're all kind of overwhelmed with the horrors going on in the world right now. And may and I don't know about you, but there may be a little bit of survivor's guilt that we're not in a horror, that we're safe, whereas so many people aren't. There's a lot that goes on with bearing witness to suffering. And 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 yet always at the same time, there's both suffering and joy. And it's important we have to consciously remind ourselves, because the news does not um, foster that balance. It doesn't find joy and lightness and beauty good copy. It's much more interesting to have the horrible things and put in our face, and so they get more hits and stuff. So it's kind of gotten really out of hand with the internet now, because there's more, there's a fear. There's people for their own reasons cultivating fear, and cultivating anger. There's a lot of that. We're being cultivated a lot by the media. So I think it's really important to get out into nature, or to look in a person's face, and to um, let ourselves feel love and let ourselves feel, you know, appreciate the beauty of the world besides the horrors, which are very real. But they're both very real, and there's a tendency to think that suffering's more real than beauty. Oh, there's someone in the waiting room. Okay. Um, but suffering isn't any more real than beauty. I mean, and it is as real, and they're both important. And if you deny suffering, it comes and it can it can bear horrible fruit if you don't um uh uh if you try to push it away and just have beauty. And there are people who have that issue, but I think in our Zen community, there's more of an issue of um, uh, pushing away the beauty as partially because there's people who can't enjoy the beauty or can't enjoy a beautiful orange because they don't have food. There's an identification, but it's important to for the sustenance of the earth to have the perspective of joy, the joy and beauty. It's part of um, motivating us to protect it. The factor of love and joy and beauty, it nourishes us, and it helps us when we are protecting the land and the earth. So I don't know, Suchita, is that what you were wanting me to speak of?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's it's good to hear that, especially maybe in this community or similar communities, that we get soaked up in the suffering. And yeah, we know there are forces that are magnifying the suffering much, much more than the joys of the world. So it's like how to be mindful, how to not feel guilty that, oh, here I am, can take a walk right now, but look at everybody else, especially in the places where horrors are actively happening. And um, so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you can take a walk and you can thoroughly enjoy the air and the
Thank you.
trees and the buildings and the people you pass. There's nothing unholy about loving where you are. And I think that we've kind of really need to consciously remember that. And drawing is a great way to like focus in on that piece uh of reality, because it's just as real. It's just as real to love. It's just as real to feel ease. It's just as real to enjoy the color yellow, you know, or to delight in the smile on the face of a child. That's just as real as everything else that is suffering, which is also real. So, yeah. So any other who else would like to chime in?
I would.
Who's I? Where are we?
Mary
Mary.
Lynn Rochelle.
Oh, look what you did. All right.
That's you. Bodhisattva.
That's awesome. There you go. Thank you.
You are warmly welcome.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. My thing is I like to draw leaves. For one thing, they're everywhere. Wherever you go, you can pick up leaves off the ground. And they're all, especially the old crunchy ones, they're so interesting. They've got all these angles and stuff. And, you know, so That's really fun to draw. What are all of your experiences with drawing teachers or drawing, or what are your feelings about yourself as an artist?
I'll share. Um, I thank you so much. That was so lovely. I think in recent years, I just maybe 2 years ago kind of decided that I wanted to practice a certain medium for a while. And so I picked up watercolors because I was an elementary school teacher and we had them in my classroom. And so I kind of just like played with those for a while and made a real effort to not do it to show anyone or to like arrive in an end product, and spent weeks on this one giant page making designs. And I just had such a great time that it like I think it kind of convinced me that I could say that I'm an artist. I think I always tack on amateur or that I do it for fun because the connotation is that I have something to share with people when I really don't. But I appreciate that so much, and tried to share that with all of my students when I was teaching, and they really had freedom from it as well, knowing that like if I shared something with them as an idea to try, that it was just that. It wasn't that it had to be perfect or even beautiful, that they could just do it to enjoy it and spend time making something just for the sake of making it. So
Yeah. And you are an artist. You can say that. You don't have to use any qualifiers. I mean, we're all artists, and you know, who determines who determines who's an artist and who isn't? You know, it's like there are people who will claim that, right? But you know, they're full of hot air, and they're not, you know, and they contradict one another. So it's not like, you know, there's one standard and this is what an artist is and this is what a good painting is. And, you know, just like not judging yourself as to whether you're an artist or not, you don't even need to judge your drawing or your painting. Um, you know, you can when I do a piece, I always bring it into the house and I put it up somewhere where I can live with it. And I really recommend trying that because it's a nice way to kind of see it from a lot of different angles, and to take yourself not take yourself seriously in the heavy sense, but to hey, you know, I like this piece and I want to do more of that. And you really kind of can get a sense of what you like and what you'd like to do more of. And watercolors are great. Watercolors are wonderful. They're like, I think they're like stained glass windows, don't you? A little bit. It's like you can get yellow because what happens is the white of the paper comes through the color, and and so you get really good color with watercolors. So if you're a color person, it's a great medium. Yeah. What else? What are your other people's experience with drawing or painting
I
or
can
art?
talk.
Yeah.
Um, I have a art degree, and then I went on, and then I and then I went on to get an advanced degree in art therapy, and I did that for quite a few years in um, uh, psychiatric hospitals, that kind of thing. And then I realized I wasn't going to be able to support myself doing that. So I went on. But the reason I'm saying that is because the reason I went to do art therapy is because that was my approach to what I did when I was in art school. I mean, it was really about what was inside of me that I was expressing. And I somehow or another didn't judge myself. I want to draw leaves the way you do it. I mean, that's something that I really like. I mean, I want to be able to replicate what I see in some way. I really want to do that. And I just recently um, finished this studio up on top of my house, and I haven't gotten up here yet. So, and I see somebody else in the chat saying I don't do it enough. And so, if we could all just sort of give each other support or say what we do to, I, it has to be, I think, for me, a practice where I watch myself, judge myself, and let it go. Where I watch myself want to do something and then not like what I'm doing or something, So just it has to be a practice that I bring a lot of mindfulness to and awareness so that it can be freer, so that it can be an expression of what's really here to express rather than some sort of stilted idea of what should be done. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have the
Yeah.
feeling that I'm not the only person that feels that way or thinks that.
Yeah. And I think that the orientation, perhaps, Dee, is about the experience you're having while you're drawing. It's if you approach it as like a meditation, and that's how I do with the leaves that you is you are it's really I recommend finding something really simple that you have a feeling for, whether it's a petal or a leaf or a cup or whatever, and communing with it, sitting with it. It's a conversation between you and that which you're drawing. And the more you look at it, the more you see. And the more you look at it, the deeper your consciousness gets in the present moment. Because that's what meditation is. It's bringing yourself right into the present moment. Hmm? And so you do that when you're drawing. Your eyes, you're using your eyes to bring you into the present moment. And it's it's working if you're there if you're really like a scientist looking at the thing and not having a lot of crosstalk going on in your brain with oh, this isn't right and that's not, but to really see, oh, okay, it goes up and around and it's darker over here. You're noticing things. You're noticing all these things that usually you don't notice when you just say that's a leaf and then that's it. You're done with it. So that's the magic of it. And to be more specific with how to start doing more drawing or how to get into your art room and use it, I heartily recommend finding a good workshop where you can get some techniques from somebody that you think is good. You want to kind of watch out for this is how you do it business. If I do nothing else today, it's to warn you of that. And to find somebody who will say, okay, like, like if you're interested, like you said, in leaves, you might take a botanical illustration workshop, which I've done a lot of. And and you just kind of slowly develop your seeing, and learn as you learn different things. I mean, like you learn to have your pencil be very sharp. Now that sounds like a little thing, but that's a very important technique in in scientific illustration or botanical illustration or that sort of thing. Not so important in other kinds of drawing. So that's one thing that could spur you in and get you into your studio. And I wish you all lived closer because you could come into my studio and paint with me, and that would be really fun. But the magic of Zoom is that we can be in all these different places. And the unfortunate part is that we can't all be together in a room, because that is it's a very human experience to draw. And I really recommend drawing with people and then going into your studio. So you know, you think of it as just introverted, but there is a piece of it that is about connecting with people and learning from people, and seeing yourself reflect your work and yourself reflected in other people's eyes. And and in doing that, how to speak about other people's art is a whole art in itself. And it's very important to, um, it's a very sensitive place. And so when I teach, I look in at a person's drawing and I find what's working and bring that forward rather than finding what isn't working. And I recommend you do this even with your own work. Look at your thing and say, well, what do I like about this? You know, it's really different than what's not working here that I could fix. You know, that's like, we're so taught to think that way. You know, like when we look in a mirror, okay, well, what's wrong with my face, instead of what works. And so, so I recommend when you look at your work or anybody's work, um, you find what you like in it and move from that place rather than finding what isn't working and trying to repair it. Does that make sense? Yeah, and so yeah, and watch for that with teachers, because some people could be really good artists but really crappy teachers, and the two don't equate. Just because you're a good artist doesn't mean you're a good teacher. Just because you're not a great artist doesn't mean you're not a great teacher. Those are two different um, uh, disciplines and talents. And so uh, when looking for someone to study with and have a workshop with, um, notice how they speak to you, rather than that you like their work, because it can get brutal out there. And you don't want that. We don't need more brutality in the world. You know, we need more kindness, and we need more acceptance. Ah, yes, Mary Lynn.
I find that the only time I can create is in dead silence. I have to have dead silence around me, as in Zazen.
Right.
And I'm I'm ecstatic to be here. I'm honored to know you. Deep bows to you. And my question is, how does your Zen inform your art?
Mm,
I would love to know that. If you could give me some wisdom. Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Um, how does my Zen inform my art? I think quite a bit. I think it gives me a lot of permission. Um, and I think that it makes me more comfortable with silence. And in art, silence is the blank page. So it's interesting because I thought about this, like silence is akin in visual art, it's leaving something blank. In dance, it's stillness. In music, it's rest. Every art form has silence in it. And I think Zen has made me even more comfortable with the silences in my work. Um, I think that Zen has made me less attached to results and more process rather than product oriented. And yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? I mean, if you get nothing else out of today, um, I hope you take that away, that making art is a process rather than making a product. A product is made, but it's like those are the droppings of, you know, and I know I've taught art to a lot of beginners, and there's a tendency to want to make a painting to put up on the wall. And you get really tight around that, and really we want to make something that's good, that so people will think we're good and care. And so the less we can care about what other people think, the better we are as an artist and human being. Being an artist is just being a human being in the sense of the Jewish mensch or the Native American human being. It's just being our human selves. Is that does that answer what you were wanting?
It speaks to me deeply, being Jewish. And so, yes, and being a Jubu. And so I salute you and I thank you, because you have said, you've spoken to these truths, of especially just letting be. I teach writing, and I have to create an emotional space with writers. I have to create that safe fence around them so that nobody feels left out, nobody feels marginalized. And so this class today is the answer to my dreams and my prayer. It's a it's a it's another lead in to be able to help me express the idea of freedom to anybody who wants to express themselves. As someone said, as a person said earlier, especially in this day and age, when we're surrounded with so much fear.
Yeah, we need to not let the other people define the narrative, which is fear and anger. And we need to create a new narrative and just be brazen about our joy. Be brazen about beauty and joy and you know and watch what happens. I mean, there's a tendency for people to think that it's naive. Well, it's not. It's as naive to just be about suffering only, because that's not the way life is either. So there's all kinds of obstacles we can laugh at. I hardly encourage laughing at obstacles because it dispels them. Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions or something that, yeah, Nikki.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I've gotten so many lovely little nuggets, and feel very, very blessed to be part of this group today. I think I'm coming from the exact opposite of what most people have said so far, because the only time I do create it's only like in my journals, and it's only been, like I don't think I've ever really approached it from a stance of like, this is for everybody else. And so it's just interesting that, so I don't have any, the art and the technique and all that stuff. But when people have shared about the inner criticism and how do you let that go and comparing yourself. I do that with my photography more than, and so that tends to be like my expression. So it's just an interesting, and that's what I do. It's like if I have an overwhelming emotion and I don't know what do I do with it? Especially, you know, the hard ones, the negative ones. Well, what do I do with that? And that's when usually when I pick up the pen or the pencil or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. And that's how I get it. I have this thing about get it out of my body physically. Otherwise it tends to loop around and loop around. And so that's my only, kind of experience with art, but I am interested in broadening that. And so I really appreciate you talking about the different techniques because I don't know any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things to play. Think of it as things to play with, like toys.
I love that word. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. It should be
Oh,
play. It should be fun. And about the suffering that you're talking about and inside and getting it out, some of the greatest work comes out of that expression of suffering. I'm thinking of the blues, or a lot of music, and a lot of beauty can come out of suffering. And that sounds
absolutely.
very contradictory, but it's really, you to create wonderful art, suffering is part and parcel of that. And so it's not like it's uh, you know, you're just going to paint a flower and oh, isn't that beautiful? It's everything that is painful is in that flower too. Um, I for Nikki, I recommend that do you journal? Is that I
Yes, that's where all the
recommend
paintings are, the pictures are.
oh, okay,
Like,
great. That's a
yeah, for
wonderful,
10 years I got journals sitting all around.
wonderful, because that's a great way to draw in right into a journal and and you can add as many things as you want in terms of like learning how to do things if you want, or not, nothing. It doesn't matter.
Mm,
It's for you to express yourself into it. Um, I'm in a group with Sulika Juad. I don't know if you know her. Uh she got cancer at age 22, and she's a writer. She wrote Between Two Kingdoms, and she's a real artist. And she got, because of the chemotherapy, she couldn't read, so she started painting right in her bed, you know. And she leads a group of journaling kind of a group.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
And what
so
was her name one more time?
Sulika, oh gosh, and I'm terrible at Lika Juad, J-O, oh man. I'd have to have it
That's
in front
okay.
of me.
Or what
Yeah.
was the name of the book you said that she,
Between Two Kingdoms.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. And she's married to John Baptiste. Do you know his work? He got like
Mm-mm.
5 Grammys this last uh at the Grammys.
Okay.
He wrote a thing called Freedom. I highly recommend listening to his music for an aural um, rendition of what I'm saying, because he has lots of joy and freedom and the suffering and sorrow in his piece, in his music. And you could just go on YouTube and listen to his song Freedom. Um, so it's like the musical rendition of what I'm trying to share today with all of you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I have benefited deeply from this session. So thank you. And thank you for everybody else.
Yeah, what a nice group. What a great group today. Uh, Anybody else want to share anything or ask a question or make a comment or get some support for something you want to do with your drawing? See, how are we doing on time? Anybody know what? I could find out.
You've still got about 25 minutes.
Oh, good. All right. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Do you guys want to draw together? Would you like that? Okay. So, do you have something to draw? Why don't we take a minute here for you to pick up some piece of paper, something to draw and something to draw with. I actually prepared for this for myself. And let's see, how will I know when you're ready? Um, uh, okay, how about, okay. All right, so what I think I'd like to do then is to lead you with a little guided meditation, and then we'll go into drawing for 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about the process. How's that sound? Mary Lynn likes that. Okay. All right. So get settled. Let me just a second. I'm going to get a timer. Okay. So just get comfortable in your seat. Just take a moment to feel where you're sitting, to embody where you're sitting. And just be aware of your body. And let everything just be as it is. So maybe there's a little ache in your shoulder. Rather than making a comment on it, just be aware of it as a sensation. Feel the places that your body is touching the chair or sofa, the ground. Let your shoulders drop. And be aware of the air in the room. Is it cool? Is it warm? Be aware of the sounds. Without any judgment, just listen to the sounds inside your body. Maybe there's sounds that you're hearing. Maybe there's a truck that goes by. Rather than making any judgment of any of the sounds, just allow yourself to enjoy experiencing sound. And from there, be aware of your breathing without changing it, just noticing it. Feel the abdomen fill up and empty. And feel the breath at your nostrils. Feel the coolness of the in-breath and the warmth of the out-breath. And watch your body and your thoughts like you're looking at a butterfly on a leaf. And if something, a thought or a feeling distracts you from the present moment, once you notice that, just bring yourself back to your breath, the feeling of your breath. Just keep bringing your attention back to what it's like in your room, in your body. In just a minute, I'm going to ask you to pick up your pencil or pen and draw from this same spot without any expectation, just drawing from the quiet, which is the empty page. So come on back and stay where you are. And you can start drawing. And I'll let you know when the time is up. you can continue drawing, or you can stop, whatever feels right. And
Honey, I'm on this call. Oh, I'm sorry.
what? Oh, somebody's talking to somebody else. So while we're drawing or not drawing, we can talk about what that felt like. This is the point in a class when we would put all of our stuff up on the wall. But I haven't figured out how to do that on Zoom. And I think, yeah.
I'm
So-
happy to put my stuff up. So when you were talking before, it was making me feel so calm that I started drawing anyway, when you were talking before. So I'd drawn one of my favorite leaves that, and so that was from before.
Oh,
And I saw so many colors that I'd never seen before.
oh, wow.
And then now, when we did this, I came out with, I didn't know what it was, but it kind of became like some kind of tropical island with a lighthouse, with a bendy lighthouse in the middle, and I don't know, it has lots of things in it. I don't know. It was like doodling, like you said, to doodle. So I had such a nice time. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. There's so many things you can discover by doodling, isn't there? You know, I recommend, Camille, when you feel like you're done with those drawings, I recommend putting them up and living with them and just seeing what they say to you, and seeing you know, directions that they point you in. And yeah, great.
Maybe I can share a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
very sorry for my English. Please excuse me. So I painted my very beloved watering can.
Ooh, wow.
And I painted it in ink. So a very quick painting.
Wow, look at that.
So I picked up Japanese sumi painting a couple of years ago, and I'm pretty used to quick painting, effortless, aimless paintings, and sumi is not so much declared as an art, but as a Zen practice. So it's a part of my daily meditation.
Mm.
And as you said, to put the paintings on the wall, I have a clipboard over there. And every time when I paint, I take the picture and put it on the clipboard for, I don't know, a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then next. And as you say, I try to find out what resonates with me.
Mm.
But the rest is completely free. And in Sumi, we try to paint emptiness. And this is very joyful. And yeah, this is what I want to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for bringing in that element, and that bringing in that, because Sumi painting is coming from Zen. And so it's very direct practice. But any drawing can be practiced, but it's very much got that history to it. Yeah, beautiful. And I love how with Sumi you get the thick and the thin lines, you know, it's like the line is like walking, like taking a walk, isn't it? Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I just drew what was right in my line of sight, which is my backpack that's sitting on a chair.
And
Nice.
I don't know that I'm going to put it up on a wall. Oh, there I go with self-judgment. So it's just hanging from a chair.
Let's see if we could see it. Oh, you know what? You've got the, we can't,
Screensaver. Yeah.
yeah, so
Oh,
because
here we go. I don't think it's going to show up. Like, no.
the screensaver keeps eating it. It's like it's burning it, or, oh, I want to see that. I can't
Let's see if I can turn. I
Can
don't
you
know if
turn
I
the
can
screensaver off?
I think I probably have to stop the video and everything. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's kind of visually interesting to see it like that, but we don't get to see what you're seeing.
But I tried to use, you know, the crosshatch technique and just simple lines.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a
good.
shame. Next time I won't use the
Yeah, next
screen.
time, don't use a screensaver and we'll be able to see what you're drawing. How was the process for you, Rain, to draw?
Oh, I loved it. I
Mm.
was, I just let loose.
Nice. Yeah. Art should feel good. Doesn't have to. Why, why not feel good?
So I will share.
Oh, good.
So and I explained later or earlier that this is not my typical foray, but I did bring an object, and the object is these gloves. It's just a simple pair of leather gloves. They belonged to my mom originally, but we moved to the Pacific Northwest from Phoenix, Arizona, so I never had any need for gloves until we got there. But now every day I wear these. So not only were they hers and they fit me to a T, but I wear them every day when I walk the dog. And so I realized when you were talking about the objects, how they're really important to me. And I just, yeah. So anyway, they're just sitting on my desk, and I just kind of, I tried to draw them as I saw them, as they were just sitting there. But I don't know if you can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like again, it's a tribute to, the gloves and what they mean. And they just bring so much. Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting to try to put that feeling and that emotion into, so yeah, I would actually, I'm looking forward to then adding more to this at another time. And so thank you.
Yeah, Nikki, something that artists do is series of things. And I would recommend that with those gloves because they have a lot to offer, those gloves. And I would recommend trying doing the gloves with different mediums, like maybe with ink and or colored pencil, to do it just to do a series, just kind of try it. What is it like with this? What is it like looking at them from this angle? Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of, they're just sitting there, and I thought, what, I'm not going to mess with them. I'm just going to like pick it up where they're just laying there. So that's a great idea though. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. You get to explore them from a lot of different angles, and you'll hit upon something that really speaks to your emotional relationship to the gloves by trying it a lot of different ways.
Okay. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
I do that all the time. I do series of things. I live in Sonoma, and we had fires here, and I was evacuated because of the fires, and I went to Oakland to my daughter's place, and to deal with the hugeness of that, I may not have a house to come home to. I started doing fire paintings, and I did a series. It ended up 40 of them fire painting, fires from a lot of different perspectives. And it really, I don't know how to explain what it did to my psyche, but it really grounded me in beauty, and it moved past the horror or I mean, even in burnt, crispy stuff, it's beautiful too.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, so series, yeah, that's a really fun thing to
Thank
play.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything you'd like to share?
May I share again?
Sure. Oh, you're muted, Mary.
This is while we were meditating. This is all of us in our little sangha. And here's the son of wisdom, you know? Here's what we're getting from you. Here's what we're getting from you. And so that's going to us, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to write a gata, and then I thought, no, I'm going to take one media at a time. But that to me expresses gratefulness and humility, because sometimes my hand doesn't go where I want it to go, but it goes where it's supposed to go when I draw. I didn't really guide anything. It was, I needed to bow. I needed to bow, and I needed to keep it simple. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the more you bow, the more spare you get, the more it gets stripped away.
Mm.
And yeah.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to pick up on what you said about the gata. It can be really fun to intermingle forms, you know, like to intermingle a poem with a drawing. That could be another really fun way to play with drawing, is to have them speak to each other, you know, what the visual is saying to the verbal, and back and forth, and they can relate to each other. That's a fun thing to do in a journal too, with uh you know, combining processes. Well, let's see, how are we doing now? We are due. I'm going to exit full screen so I could see what time it is. Oh, okay. Well, it looks like it's 10:30. And so I would like to say that this has been a delightful morning to spend with you. Thank you for indulging me in talking about one of my favorite things, which is art. And I hope that you all just take this as a jumping off place, um and and go out and have fun with your drawing. Find support for it in you know, workshops or other things like that. If you're called to do that, you don't, of course, need to do that, but and just play with it, and may we meet again. Thank you.
I would love to see this. I would love to do this again. Is that possible, Jacqueline?
Jeff is shaking his head. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
this could be a recurring thing, Jacqueline, if you'd like to do it. So
Sure. Yeah, we could
I'm in.
do that.
I'm in. I'm definitely in. This is such a gift.
Great,
I am
great.
so,
Yeah, I'd
so
love to.
grateful.
I'd love to. I like putting little things together like this, and being with people who are who are becoming lights in the being lights.
We'll capture everyone who registered and attended your email addresses so that if we look to do this again, we can get in touch with you. So that'll be great.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have
Thanks
a
everybody for
wonderful
attending
day.
and for supporting Zen Peacemakers.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
You've got
Thank
my
you.
support. Be well.
Be well.
Take care.